Okay. Um, um, Hello. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hi.
Oh, there we go. My Zoom isn't working on one thing, so I'm trying to download it on another computer.
Okay.
One more commissioner. Get started.
Okay, I think
Oh, there's Beth.
everyone is in. Well, is Scott there?
Looks like Beth is here, so we can get started.
Hello.
Hi. All right. Well, shall we begin? Call the meeting for 7:03.
Yes.
We've got minutes from August 26th to consider. Has everybody had a chance to take a look at them?
Yes, and I saw your edits too.
Did other people have, should we go over them? Do other people have revisions?
I looked at them and they looked good to me. I didn't see anything else.
Yeah.
Same
Yeah,
here.
I looked through them and thought they were fine.
Yeah, added the L's to your name,
Yeah,
Beth.
sorry about that, Beth. It's
I didn't want to comment on that one
Yeah,
again.
well, I'm someone who's had her name misspelled my whole life, so
Yes.
I apologize.
No,
Yeah.
it happens to me all the time.
Well, I will get better. Well, hopefully someone else will get better with this, but okay. So does someone want to move to accept the meetings as present?
Well, 1 second, there was one thing that was missing. There was no roll call. With a motion around the solar project. I'm assuming we took a roll call vote on that.
Uh,
Is that correct? I'm assuming we did.
Let me look my notes.
That's why I had it as a comment. I'm sure if there was a second, we had a roll call vote. So it may just be adding that,
sure.
because it was unanimous. So
Well, if I add that, are people comfortable with the minutes?
yes.
Yes.
Can someone make a motion?
I'll make a
Make
motion.
a motion that we accept the minutes with the proposed revisions.
Okay, we have a second.
I'll
Second.
second Mary.
Mary seconds. Okay, David,
Aye.
Defont, I, Harrington,
Aye.
Scott's not here, and Wilson.
Hi.
Okay. All right, so that's done. We have, is Emily going to be joining us tonight?
No, because it did not seem like we had sufficient information to close public meeting.
Okay.
I think Maria provided us with some information, but late this afternoon, I suspect no one has had a chance to look at it. And as best I can tell, we do not have a hard copy. We have a corrected hard copy before we close the hearing.
Okay. All right. Well, why don't we just proceed? We've got some time before the public hearing. Under new items and updates, a couple of, I'm going to do this a little out of order. We'll do the short things first. So do you want to go over the Sumner Mountain CR?
Oh, sure, that's very short. So I think I agreed early in my time helping you out as interim clerk to be in touch with Charlie Eisner, who's done CR monitoring visit for Sumner Mountain for the past couple of years. I asked him if he would do it again under the same parameters as last year, and he agreed. And he has contacted the property owner, Chuck DeMare, and arranged a monitoring visit on Friday, September 17th at 1:30 p.m., weather permitting. And if any of you are interested in joining him, I said I would let him know and we can work out the details of where you might want to meet. And just as an aside, for anyone who's been on this property, it's very steep and very rocky, which is why we chose to ask a vibrant young lad to do this for us. But any of you are welcome to join him.
I'll pass.
It's a cool property. It's definitely an interesting place, but it's those of us who are in our 60s and 70s found it a challenging walk the year we did it.
Right, and with my knee, I'm not capable of doing something like that, I don't think.
Well, you said the 17th, right? What time was that?
9:30 in the morning. On
On Friday, the 17th?
Mhm.
Oh, yeah, I'll be at work.
Yeah, I know.
That's too bad.
Well, one of these days.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting situation in that Mr. DeMare wants to make sure he is able to come along on the site visit. So it is scheduled at the convenience of Charlie Eisman and Chuck DeMare.
Great. Just a FYI, it looks like Scott is going to be signing in late. So we just keep an eye on whether he's in the waiting room.
Yeah, try to do
Sounds
that.
like he's going to sign in around 7:15 is what he said.
Okay.
Land use clerk hiring. So we interviewed, there was a search committee of the chairs from Planning Board, ZBA, and myself, and we interviewed 2 applicants. One of them was my first choice, was a guy who had a master's degree in an environmental field. And he declined the offer. The second choice was a woman who is the town clerk for the town of Leverett, and she's the select board clerk in Leverett. Her name is Lisa Stratford, and she is accepted from what I understand. So she will be taking over sometime soon, and we'll be giving her an orientation and helping her get up to speed. Penny, you didn't hear from Becky confirming a meeting tomorrow, did you?
I did not. I think many, Becky among others, were on lot 032 doing some
Okay,
assessments associated with the potential library project.
okay. I had on the agenda just an update to the Conservation Commission about stormwater issues, and I don't want to get into it right now because last week, 2 weeks ago, as you may recall, Bob Douglas had come wanting to talk about the stormwater issues at 66 Lake Drive, and this is where there's that bypass drain that's causing all sorts of sediment discharges into the lake. And he's not here, so we need to schedule a time for him to come. But I've been doing some research, and what it's starting to look like, and this is not confirmed yet, but it's starting to look like that stormwater drain may never have been permitted by the Conservation Commission. But it's very unclear and may never be clear because some of the people who are part of that decision-making are no longer around.
Right, it was complicated because the Board of Health was involved and the commission was involved
Right.
and it was, what, 5 years ago?
Right. It was 2004. Yeah, more than 5 years ago. It was 2013. So
Wow.
at some point, hopefully we'll have a little bit more clarity and then we can have a conversation with the landowner about what needs to happen, but it may be that something does need to happen with that storm drain. Either some changes to it or it being removed. That's, I don't want to go there right now, but that's to be decided. This coming Tuesday, the select board is having a meeting with the Lake Wyolet Advisory Committee to talk about stormwater issues in town. I think with an eye towards possibly organizing some sort of working group to look at some of these issues. So, if we had enough commissioners who wanted to attend, we could post it as a meeting for a joint meeting with the Conservation Commission, which means, we can participate in the meeting without, sort of violating open meeting law. We don't have to take minutes because the select board minutes would be the de facto minutes. So I guess what I'd like to know is how many people would like to attend. If we have a quorum, we really should post it as a joint meeting.
Yeah, I don't think I can come to that. What time was it again?
It's 5:30. It sounded like Scott wanted to attend. I'm going to be attending. Sounds like Mary's going to attend. So
I am not able to.
you're not. So we aren't going to have a quorum. So we will not post.
So if Mary, you and Scott, you said Scott is not able to attend?
I think he wants to
That's
attend.
3 of 5, so that is a quorum.
So is everybody else kind of going in and out like me, or is it just my computer having a problem?
Oh, you're right. 3 is a quorum. Thank you. Somehow I was thinking it was 4. Yes, it is a quorum, so we should post it. Penny, do you want to do that or should I do it?
No, I'm happy to do it. So it's 5:30 on, what was the date?
On what is the 15th? 14th?
Uh,
14th.
Okay, so that's Tuesday, the 14th?
Yeah, and I would just say joint meeting with select board and LWAC. Will be the agenda.
Yep, got it.
Great. Okay. Do we have time? What do you want to do in terms of talking about the dewatering plan? Do we have time to go over that now?
Well, you can decide. I think we owe it to the construction crew to either give them a thumbs up or give them some comments before we get much further along.
Have folks had a chance to look at the revised plan? They sent it out the day of that meeting. Don, did you have a chance to look at it?
I read through it. I'd still like to, if we have time, I'd like to spend a little more time looking at the plan set because I haven't had a chance to sort of pull that up on a bigger screen and really look at it.
Okay.
But if we need to make a comment by tonight, then I understand.
Well, the concern is that let's see how to say this. They cannot start the project until we've approved the dewatering plan. And so I know today they got their Army Corps permit. That came through in the email sometime this afternoon, and supposedly there are some electric company trucks driving up and down the road, which might mean that they're going to move the electrical pole soon. And I haven't heard anything specific about where things stand with the fabrication of the culvert, but I would hate the project to be held up because we have not carefully reviewed the dewatering plan.
Yeah, I think we probably need to approve it tonight.
Or if not, tell them, advise what needs to be changed.
Or ask what, or at least review it. We're gonna have, I mean, I'm imagining the two ANRAD public hearings are just gonna be really administrative, which means we'll have a block of about hopefully 20 minutes or more before the RDA. Do you want to cover some other issues and then come back to this after the ANRADs?
Sure. Can I just quickly share with the commission? I read through the Army Corps letter that came today, and it was somewhat gratifying to see that they are asking for some of the things that the commission asked for in the order of conditions. In particular, they're asked to reconstruct the riverbed under and down river from the culvert. And they are required to use natural riverbed material, which is something we had asked them to do.
They were supposed to come back with us with information about what material they were going to use. That
I think that they will do that, yes. And let's see, I missed one other point. Anyway, it just was good to see that many of the points in the letter reiterated the points we had in our conditions.
and we need to set up a site visit once they've got the flagging up.
Correct.
So what if we, we'll talk about the watering plan tonight, but why don't we also, Penny, send them an email just reminding them about the need for the site visit?
Okay, I'm pretty sure they know about that, but I'm happy to do
We need
that.
to schedule it, and it has to, we need to do the site visit before they start work, so
Right.
they may not be thinking
Well,
about
I
our,
think they're pretty frantic trying to get all the other pieces of the project together so they
Right.
can start this fall.
Right.
But yes, I will remind them. They haven't installed erosion control. I did notice that when I went by yesterday.
so if they've done that, then we could do the site visit anytime.
Right.
So that's what we
Right.
need to see. So, so what we need from them is a site visit to look at inspecting erosion controls, and they need to get back to us with materials for the riverbed because they were supposed to do that. The construction company, and we'll pull up the dewatering plan, site plan, when we go over this at 7:45. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yep.
Site visit follow-up. We've got 32 Leverett Road and 38 Lake Drive.
Yes, I will start with,
We actually can just cover the Dalmas at the RDA. Why don't we postpone that to 8?
okay,
We'll just review the site plan during the RDA public meeting.
okay.
So Benton.
So the other one, 32 Leverett Road, was the septic and well installation. Several of us were there, 4, Beth and Scott and Don and I. And their engineer was there, who was extremely helpful. And the septic is going to be between 50 and 100 feet from the wetland. They'll use a silt fence and hay bales for erosion control. The property is totally flat, so we don't have to worry about, erosion and things like that, really. And so basically I didn't see any major problems. I mean, it is between, 50 and 100 feet from the wetland, but given that, they seem to have figured out good places to put things. And our recommendation was just very general. We said we're going to discuss this at the meeting. But
So just thinking ahead, the public meeting for that is scheduled for the second meeting this month. They didn't have enough time to get things posted and sent out to abutters for this meeting. Was
Okay.
there discussion about the salt contamination of the wells along Leverett Road and the need to potentially adjust the location of the well to consider that?
Catherine Hilton showed up about halfway into the visit, and they discussed it about the positioning of the well. We discussed about a tailings pond, a place to detain the drillings, all in a small area there. The saltwater contamination was of concern. Is really only limited places they can put that well. Where it's positioned now is upslope from where they had claimed there was a problem with salt contamination before.
Do you know how
They
far?
thought the well was inside the basement of the house.
Oh,
No,
Penny, Scott is in the waiting room.
Oh, sorry.
Penny, can you look to see if you can let me in too? I had to reload my program on my
I
computer.
see you up
I
there.
see you.
We see you.
I've admitted you again.
We see you. We hear you.
All right, I might have made it.
So Don, you feel
Oh.
Don, you feel like the well isn't an, how far from the road is it? I couldn't tell from the RDA that they,
Only about 20 feet, 15 feet. Catherine Hilton was concerned and had measured it a couple times and spoke with the engineer about it. Did Robin, did you hear any discussion that they didn't want to use that site?
No, but I didn't hear all of there were several separate discussions going on at the same time, and I
That's right.
wasn't
they were
listening to them.
speaking separately on the Board of Health issue. Setbacks were a concern, and saltwater contamination from the road was a concern.
right.
20 feet didn't seem like a lot, but any more than that, and you'd be literally in the footprint of the house.
Right.
He did say the well was going to be cased and pretty deep. So I think the consultant was trying to say, I think that they're hopeful that the salt and also any of the petroleum that was sort of a situation around there too they were hopeful that it wasn't going to be an issue.
So they at least considered that when they were making the design.
The second consideration was the wetland. It's far enough away and upslope enough that their work for the septic system should not have runoff effects because there's a stone wall in the way. And it's,
Right.
It's pretty good sized stone wall. I was actually more concerned about the sort of downslope possibility in the other direction toward the fire station. The fire station's wells are in the backyard, not the side yard.
Okay, so we've got an RDA, the public meeting scheduled for our next meeting, so we'll be able to have a more in-depth discussion about this at that point. So Scott's here. Hi, Scott. Is Scott here?
Hey, everyone.
Hey, Scott.
I'm here. I'm late.
We have one thing I wanted to throw in the agenda, forgot, a quick item, I hope, before we go on to the public hearing. We voted at the last meeting to recommend to the planning board that they investigate the iron staining on the Wheelock tract. There's a planning board meeting this Monday night, so I was planning on attending to kind of talk about those recommendations. One of the thoughts I had after our discussion 2 weeks ago was two things. One is that if they are having to do any repairs on the road, And it involves needing to install any more stormwater diversions. We need to probably remind them that they need to come back to us if it's anywhere near the wetlands. Since that would be it could be requiring a new review. The other question I had for the commission is whether or not we want to ask the planning board to consider an environmental monitor for this site, an independent environmental monitor.
For the Wheelock site,
Yeah,
who would pay for that?
well, it would be up to it would be a 53G. It would have to be with the consent of the operator.
I feel like that might be overstepping our bounds a bit. Since none of the work currently is within the buffer zone, and there was an environmental monitor paid for by the applicant during the construction period and well after until site was stable.
There was an environmental monitor during the construction.
Yes, there was. Someone came out every time it rained and checked on things, and we got those reports. The commission got those reports, even though again it was outside our jurisdiction. We got those reports every time there was a rain of, I think, more than, it's been a few years, I don't remember, half an inch or so.
So my only concern was that there's a stormwater detention basin that's full of water. That doesn't have the storage capacity that it was designed for because it's holding water. And so if there was a release into the wetlands, unless there's an environmental monitor, nobody would know. I mean, we know that that stormwater feature is not functioning the way it was designed. We didn't see any evidence of a discharge, but that doesn't mean there couldn't be a discharge at some point. And that was my concern. I don't know if people, we can't mandate anything. We can only ask. So that was a question of whether we want to ask or if the commission feels that this is not our role.
I mean, I think we should ask or recommend, whichever we should do.
Right, we can't mandate anything, but
We can ask or recommend, right?
we were invited to come along. So my guess is that we should feel like we can voice an opinion since we were invited there. And this may not be something that's on the radar for the planning board. Maybe it is, I don't know. So speak up here, folks, if you have thoughts about it, because
I mean, I guess, this is Scott, I think that it makes sense to me if we're just providing some thoughts or some best management practices or considerations, but I think we'd want to draw a bright line that there is no jurisdictional issue at play. It's not anything that the Concom is, that we are recommending in that context. It's over and above and beyond. It's voluntary. I think if we were phrased that way, and then I think that that's fine. I think if it has an air of something where we are, concerned about jurisdictional wetland and requiring it, then maybe we would want to have more conversation around that to better understand that. I hear what you're saying, Miriam, about the discharge into a wetland and whether or not we know. I guess I just start then to have questions about, do we require this type of thing in all situations like this or not? And I just have some more learning to do there.
well, there's no other situations in Shutesbury on this scale. So it's a little bit of a unicorn. We don't have jurisdiction unless there's a discharge, in which then we do have jurisdiction. And that was just my concern, is that, you know, if there was a discharge, there would be no way of knowing if there's no one evaluating it on a routine basis.
Yeah, I'm concerned that the planning board has no mechanism for requesting that of the applicant at this point, because it's not part of their special permit. I mean, you can certainly ask the planning board, but I suspect they're going to tell you that they don't have the authority to require that at this point.
They may not, I don't know, but the stormwater system is not functioning the way that it was designed to in the special permit. So that would be up to the planning board to decide if they want to ask the applicant. And I don't know if they can require it, or if it's again more of a voluntary process. But I guess the question is about having a conversation about this.
This is Janice. Did the planning board already do some final sign off on the construction? So it's like the equivalent of a certificate of compliance, or is that still somewhere in limbo?
Oh, I'm sure I'm sure the certificate of compliance
Oh, okay.
was issued a long time ago.
All right. I mean, the only thing I could think of is if there were a way, I don't know. Does anyone know offhand what the rainfall amount was from, let's say, the Ida that just came through our area, and whether we could ask for someone to go out, even if it's the people there, I suppose, but if they could go out and take some photos of the discharge side of that basin after, within 24 hours of a rainfall amount of 2 inches or 3 inches, whatever, some definitely above normal, but that's the sort of time that might be happening, to sort of limit when that would be required, but just so that in the case of large runoff, that's the time that we'd be worrying most about too much discharge from the basin. I don't know.
And the driveway.
Yes, right, yeah. Yeah.
Well, so that would be asking, that would be an alternative, is to ask them, what would you think, 2 inches, 3 inches?
I don't know. Someone has to sort of look at recent rainfall events and see what is what's above the norm, certainly. And, how do we want to set something above that? I'm not sure offhand. I didn't pay attention to the
Well, I can
rainfall
try and
amounts.
take a look at that and
We got, the last storm was 3.53 inches, which is huge.
In 24 hours.
Henri was 1.5 or so inches. I
Uh-huh.
think in both those situations, that would be a good time to check something like that. And yeah, I don't know if I like the idea of asking them if they would do it. And also, maybe as a commission, if we have another event like that, one of us just runs out and, goes in the woods there behind that basin and sees if there's any damage
Mhm.
back there. I'm
Mhm.
happy to.
can't do that. We'd need their consent to do that. I mean, yeah,
Oh,
because it's within the fence. Well, so greater than an inch? I don't know.
that's good.
What are the norms now for erosion and sediment control? What they have to calculate for? I can't remember what the standards are for, like, the 10-year storm and 25-year storm and stuff like that.
Was it 50-year? I thought I think it was a 50-year, but
Well, it could be something like that, but to have some sort of standard amount, 1 inch maybe would be too often, but maybe, would that likely exceed the capacity of what's in what the basin has now, or not? Or, at least if you're going to try to get them to do it sometimes, to have them do it at least at the higher levels, whether it's 2 or 2.5 inches or something like that, when it's more likely to be a problem.
That makes
I'm going to interrupt for a minute because
Sure.
it's after 7:30 and we need to
Public hearing.
get to our public hearing.
Yep. Okay,
Okay.
so we'll postpone this and try to pick it up later. So let's open the public hearing for the ANRAD for ZD 27 Carver Road, Montague. So Maria, do you want to give us an update?
Yes, Maria from TRC for the record. We got the proposal for the additional peer review work. We are working on getting a check to you. So we need to request a continuance so that the field work and any associated updates can be done. Based on the additional conversation around needing to resubmit some other ANRADs that are higher priority to our applicant than this one, I was hoping that you would consider a continuance date in November or December. Just give us plenty of time to go out in the field with Emily.
It's fine with me. I don't have a problem with that.
I'm okay.
I'm okay.
Do you want to say December just to give yourself plenty of time?
The first meeting in December would be fine. I think it's December 9th.
That sounds great.
You know our schedule well.
All right, would somebody like to make a motion to continue to December 9th,
Actually, it's the 11th.
11th?
November 11th is that Thursday.
Oh, I thought we were doing December.
December,
Oh, I'm sorry.
and that is the 9th.
Oh, yeah.
Correct. Sorry
So-
about
9th? Okay,
No problem.
all right, so I'll make a motion that we continue the ANRAD public hearing to December 9th. Do we have a second?
I second.
Wait, what time?
Then, let's do 7:30. Harrington seconds.
Yes.
David,
I,
Font, I, Harrington,
I.
Han,
Aye.
Wilson.
Aye.
Okay, right. So next on a hit parade is the Pratt Corner South.
And I'm sorry, we need to wait 2 minutes.
Wait a couple minutes.
We have to wait 2 minutes.
But I can give you the update. At the last meeting, I had said that we hadn't heard back from our attorneys, and I wanted to let you know that we have, and they are in agreement with the resubmittal process with fees and such. So I know that you all had heard back from yours, but I wanted to close the loop on that.
And have you thought about a timeline for when you might want to do that, or is this too early to think about that?
We are going to be submitting the Pratt West one sooner rather than later. I don't have a specific timeline because we have to get the budget approved for doing it.
Mhm.
But once we have that, it shouldn't be too long because we already have the forms and everything for it. Everyone just has to re-sign and get a new abutters list, really.
So you can probably just work with me, or whoever is the clerk, to set that date when you know more.
Yep. With respect to the Baker ANRAD, that site is more than likely not being developed. It's been in that state for quite some time, so they are not interested in resubmitting that because it's just not worthwhile to them.
Okay.
If that changes, then they'll go through the resubmittal process, but right now they are not planning to do anything with that
And
one.
then you resubmit the Montague Carver.
Right, and I think that, given the amount of turnover and stuff that's happened, that at this point, it's simplest to finish the review process with Stockman Associates, and then close that so that we can resubmit something that's okay. This is everything that's been reviewed, so we can just get it done simply, just in case there are any other last minute commissioners.
The only thing about that, Maria, is that if we need to approve any of the changes to the map, we don't have enough commissioners to approve any of those changes.
It's not any different really than what happened with the other ones. You're relying on the peer reviews opinion on whether or not we've accurately represented things. Otherwise, what we would really need to do is full on just close the public hearing as it is. And given what's gone on, I think that it simplifies things to do the official resubmittal after we've finished working with Emily.
So then you, Maria, this is Penny, you would post the public hearing once all the peer review is done. And the commission would have a chance to review all of that at that point.
Right, so the idea is to do the site walk with Emily, revise anything that needs to be revised and get her sign off that, you know, a letter basically saying that we have not missed a whole bunch of edits that were supposed to be made. And once that happens, hopefully that's all complete by the December 9th hearing. So the December 9th hearing would be to the effect of, you know, Emily could come and say, you know, this is where we're at. And then we would just close the public hearing and say, we're not going to vote on this because of this issue, and close it. And then we would be in a position to resubmit so that it would be a nice, simple thing like what we're trying to do for the resubmittal for Pratt West.
Okay. That's cool. One thing that we were advised, Maria, is that when we do have the public hearing, the new public hearing for the new ANRAD, that at the beginning, you should summarize the whole project as if you were presenting it for the first time, and then summarizing the work that was done, so that all the new commissioners who are new to the process can be included.
Yes.
So just, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I see that Emily Stockman just joined our meeting.
Oh.
So, hi, Emily.
And we should open we should open the Pratt Corner South
Yes.
hearing and read CU2. Hi, Emily.
Do I need to unmute her?
No, she looks like she's here.
Okay, I see her. Hi, Emily, can you hear us?
So I don't know if she can hear us or not.
Well, she's not muted on our end.
So my question is, since we just got this revised map in the late afternoon and we haven't all had an opportunity to review it, Maria, were you hoping that we were going to close tonight and issue the ORAD?
I was not sure if anyone was going to have time to look at anything, particularly Emily, since it's her comments that the updated plans are in response to. So my hope was that you would just continue us to your next hearing, because I really hope we can close at that one.
Yeah, I think that would be the best course. So I'm just wondering if we need Emily for this meeting, or we should have Emily come for the next one. I don't want to kind of waste our Emily time.
I mean, she's here, so I'm wondering if she has something she wants to say. I don't want to prevent her from.
Yeah, no.
But
Who's
pending that.
I see a Ward Smith here too. That's not,
Ward is here for the Dalmas hearing.
okay.
Hi, Ward. Emily, can you say something for us? We're not able to hear you.
Oh my dear.
No.
Oh, there she is.
Now can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry about that. I'm not sure what the technical difficulties were. I was able to hear all of you fine folks. I did just receive the revised site plans today, along with all of you. I have not had a chance to review them. The options would be to have Maria go over the revisions during the hearing tonight, or to continue to the next meeting to allow us all to digest and then report back.
I think that there were enough random flag edits that needed to be made that I think it's better for you, Emily, to have an opportunity to go through and just confirm that you agree that they've been made. So I think that continuing is probably the thing that most of us are more comfortable with at this point.
So that would be continuing to the 23rd.
Yes.
Is that okay with you, Emily?
That is more than okay. Would the commission also like me to move forward with the drafting of an ORAD in preparation of that meeting?
I think that would be very helpful to us, especially because we're going to be in a state of transition with a new clerk coming on. So that would be much appreciated.
Certainly happy to do that. And I'll look forward to seeing everyone at the next meeting then.
Okay, so let's pick, what time do
Just
we?
ask Emily a quick question, and that is, how do you feel about, you probably got the sense that we're having to create some of these public hearings because of quorum problems. Do you have any concerns about what Maria suggested for the Carver Montague project of having you do the peer review under the original ANRAD filing and then close that and not weigh in on it and then reopen it with all the information?
So thank you for that, Penny. I don't believe I was brought into the Zoom for that discussion. So please, please educate me. Was there an issue with the quorum for the Montague Carver?
Yes.
Yes.
Because the hearing was went on for such a long period of time. We've had turnover on the commission, so we no longer have a quorum that can weigh in on it.
So the intent is to close out the previous ANRAD and then start anew. Is that correct, Maria?
Well, yeah, that's really the only way to do it, because we are supposed to resubmit and get a new DEP file number. And this issue actually impacted a couple of the other ORADs that were already issued. And in those cases, because the ORADs were already issued, we've been asked to resubmit, and the intention is to essentially open and close in a single hearing because everything's already been reviewed and approved. But because Montague has not actually been closed, we do need to close it before we can refile, basically. So procedurally, I don't think there's another way to do it. I think what Penny was asking you about is that at the moment we have continued the Montague hearing to give us time to get the commission the additional peer review fee check and to be able to have time to go out in the field with you, and to try to have any back and forth to get the plans finalized so that when we do resubmit for Montague, that we can do it in the simple open and close in one hearing hopefully format instead of close it now, reopen it, which would potentially like make us miss this field season in terms of being able to finish reviewing the newer flags, which we'd prefer not to do that if we don't have to, but also in case there is any unexpected turnover, then we don't have to account for that. We feel it's better to just finish the process kind of as it is and just not issue an ORED at the end when we finally close.
The only thing I could sort of see with this, Maria, is that if for some reason you and Emily were not in agreement about the changes that needed to be made, and the commission needed to make a decision about what to ask, we would not be able to do that under the current ANRAD. We can't deliberate.
I don't think that there's any.
So that's the only question.
Wouldn't come to an agreement.
So as long as you guys can.
My experience so far, I would be really, really surprised.
This is Janice. I have a question about the sort of the technical part of it. I'm not sure that maybe I may miss something if you guys have gone through town council with it, but I'm not sure that the commission could actually close the Montague Road hearing because they don't have the proper quorum. And what you actually have to do is withdraw without, what's the word? Incrimination or whatever the word is.
Prejudice.
Withdraw the.
Prejudice.
Yeah, withdraw without prejudice and then open the new one. You don't want to try to close. You can't get an ORAD because of the quorum. So I think check, but it seems to me that technically it'd be better to do the withdrawal after you're at the point that everybody's satisfied, you know, that
Right,
things are in a good place.
That's what I've been recommending.
Okay.
What the mechanics, whether it's a withdrawal or a closing, we'll sort that out. But as you said, Janice, I'm asking that we kind of limp along as much as we can and come to an agreement on where the flags are supposed to be, and then deal with the refiling after that.
That raises the question, which is we just voted to continue the hearing, and actually we can't, that we didn't have a quorum of qualified commissioners to vote on that continuance.
Can't you do that? I thought that the quorum didn't have to be the specific legal quorum to do basic sort of administrative things, which would include continuing a hearing. I'm not positive, but I thought when we went through some of this quorum stuff, I thought that was a certain number of things were allowed. You could open and close the meeting in general, and I thought you could do the continuance.
So you can have administrative hearings. So
as long as you have a quorum, maybe not the original required legal quorum for a decision.
I know that if it's just an administrative hearing and there's nothing substantive discussed, that doesn't count as a hearing that you could potentially miss.
Right.
In order to be counted in quorum, but I don't know if that means that we actually can make those administrative decisions for if those of us are here have not. I don't know.
I think you could continue. I think that's a reasonably safe thing to do. You're not making a decision on the revisions or anything. You're just at this point continuing.
Okay. All right. We'll just go with that then. So where are we at then? Emily, did you have any more thoughts about this?
Well, if I understand, Miriam, this was an item that was on the agenda prior to Pratt South, and you've already voted to continue?
Yeah, no, I guess we did vote to continue. Yes.
Yeah, so the hands are tied then, and the conversation regarding it can be brought up at that continued hearing. And certainly as a technical aspect, I can speak, with Janice and you and Penny to sort of hash out the intricacies of the situation. I would concur more with Janice. I think it needs to be a withdrawal. I question whether or not it can just be closed. But I would like some time to delve into that.
Okay. And yes, so I guess what I was wondering about was the process that we talked about continuing with your peer review under the current ANRAD before it's withdrawn. If that's a problem or not for you, as you see it.
I am going to point out that we're having an awful lot of discussion about something that was continued that we're not supposed to be discussing.
Okay.
Yeah, that was,
Okay.
that was also my point. Thank you, Maria. I missed that it had been continued. So we can circle back that and have that discussion at the continued date. And I can do a little research procedure wise between now and then.
All right, that's fine.
Okay.
So back to Platte Corner South. So we're going to continue it to 9:23, and we didn't come up with a time.
And I think we have a hearing, the 32 Leverett Road hearing. And I just need to go back. I need to leave this screen for just a minute. I think the 32 Leverett Road hearing is at 7:30. But I just need to double check on that. Yes, 7:30. So we have a hearing at 7:30 that night.
How would 8 p.m. be?
That would be fine.
Somebody want to make a motion then to continue?
I'll make a motion that we continue to next meeting at 8 o'clock.
I'll second that. David,
Aye.
Font, aye. Harrington,
Aye.
Han,
I,
and Wilson.
Hi.
Okay, great. Thank you, Emily. Thank you, Maria.
Thank you. See you next time.
Thanks, everyone. Have a nice evening.
Bye.
Okay, so it's 2 minutes to 8. So we've got a couple minutes before we open up the public meeting for the RDA.
So we have 1 minute.
1 minute. Do we have any other site visits to schedule?
As of this morning, there had been no further requests. There will be one, and actually Ward Smith may be involved in this. Gentleman either has or is interested in purchasing a 30-acre parcel and wants to assess the wetlands on it. And from conversation with him, Ward has agreed to do that on his behalf, correct, Ward?
Yeah, I went out there today and met with him.
Mm-hmm.
He has some wetlands. There's a certified vernal pool on the property. I understand you have a 200-foot setback buffer zone around vernal pools under your bylaw.
We would have to double check that.
Okay. That's what we have in Wendell. I don't know what you have. So there are definitely wetlands on the property. Where he wants to build the house is not wetland. The question is access.
Right.
If any of you are familiar with where that is, the town owns a sliver of land between the road and the property. And he met with, I don't know who he met with in the town, and the town basically said it would be difficult for him to get access from that road. So from the main Wendell Road. So he's looking at accessing it from the road next to the athletic club. But there are wetlands on that, not all the way, but there are wetlands. So he would definitely be within the buffer zone. So I told him today, really, I should flag the wetlands and he should figure out if he's got enough space to get in there that way. I think he does, but you
You'll
know,
be back in touch with us when we need to do a site visit is the ultimate. long
Yes.
story.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right, well, we should open the public meeting for the RDA at 48 Lake Drive for the paving of the driveway. So, and we have, is the landowner here? I don't see them.
Oh, I bet he is.
Should be. He said he was going to be
I
here.
just admitted him.
Okay.
It's hard for me to do more than one thing at a time here. Okay, he should be in now. And I don't know if Stephen or Ward wants to make sort of just a general statement about the project to start.
I think Stephen knows more about the details of exactly what he's proposing. I'm happy to weigh in as needed. Stephen?
Words, what is your role with it?
He's just asked me for advice.
Okay.
I helped him with the filing, meaning he sent me the filing, filled out the filing, and I made some minor revisions to it. I recommended that he go with the RDA first because in my opinion, the project will not alter any wetlands. He's within the buffer zone to an intermittent stream. But the way he can describe the project, but the work should all be done in one day and won't result in a change, expansion of impervious areas or anything like that.
So we have the landowner, is it Stephen?
Yes.
Hi, Stephen.
Hi.
I'm Miriam. I wasn't at the site visit. I'm the chair. Why don't you tell us about the project and review it, and then we'll hear from Robin and the folks who did the site visit.
Is it possible for my wife to be let in?
My name's
Linda Bill.
She there. Okay. Okay. Oh, we're getting, oh, you're gonna have to probably go somewhere. We're getting feedback. I think you're gonna have to go downstairs, maybe, I'm not sure. Sorry. Keep getting feedback, come on. Okay. I sent in just a couple of days ago, kind of a overview explanation. So we submitted the request for determination because Ward explained that we are not altering the wetland. Our project involves removing 3 inches of existing gravel drive, which is the same material as the roads, and at Lake Wyola, and replacing it, having a paver replace it first with 2 inches of coarse macadam, and then 1 inch to 1.5 inches of top coat macadam. So it'll be the same, at the same elevation, the same slopes, and the same pitches. There aren't going to be any curves. The existing slope to the rear and the side, as well as to the road, will be maintained. So currently, a fair amount of water is allowed to drain either off the back or the side of the drive into drainage channels that I constructed, stone line drainage channels that takes the water into the planted and mulched buffer areas. It's a one-day project. And the reason that we want to change from the gravel to the macadam is basically for personal safety. My wife's now 78, I'm 72, and I've found it difficult to keep the gravel drive free of ice in the winter. The roughness of the gravel drive limits how close the snow blower can be set, and then additional snow removal with a shovel is also limited by the roughness. And with these more frequent wet snows that then freeze, it's very difficult or impossible to really clear. So the parking area also, our site is such that in the winter, we receive minimal to no sunlight due to the low angle and orientation of the sun and all the existing evergreens. So as a result, once it freezes, it really doesn't melt. I do use the ice and sand mix that you can get up at the Shutesbury Highway Department, which certainly helps, but it's a kind of a little bit of a battle. And I feel with the macadam, I'd be able to get it clean. And then when we filed the notice of intent for the construction of the house in 2017, our consultant Chuck Dolce, who's now retired, designed the site plan and represented us. And at the time, the site plan, which includes the existing gravel drive, was approved. Now, one of the questions that came up in the, I guess, the fact-finding visit was about permeability. So I did a little research, and there's a Massachusetts Unpaved Roads BMP, Best Maintenance Practices Manual, which was put out in the winter of 2001. And one of the comments in there, under general road surface principles, this is for gravel or dirt roads, is keep the road surface tight and impervious. So, my observation is the existing gravel drive is meant to be impervious, and our changing to a macadam surface, which is impervious, it's really not much of a change in the amount of water that's running off onto the common road. So that's what I've got.
Thank you.
Sure.
Does anybody have any questions for the Dalmases?
Well, I just have some comments from the site visit,
Yeah.
and I was very impressed with his stone-lined drainage, not ditches, but whatever that he
Channels.
had. And he's got, I was just pretty impressed. And what he said to us was that they are staying in place and that they're going to make sure that the new covering of this driveway is going to funnel the water down the same ones. Like it's not going to block them off or, put up an edge along them, but still allow that drainage to continue. And I'd appreciate if any of the other members who were there that day have any comments.
I'd have to agree with Robin that, they've been dealing with the water runoff by channeling it into these stone-lined swales, which to me are reminiscent of a rain garden. And I've kind of hoped that many people around the lake would take this approach to slowing runoff water toward the lake. In fact, that the way that they've pitched their driveway so that the water runs sort of in all directions is benefiting their neighbors as well. It's keeping the water out of the road.
You're not planning on berming the edge of the driveway that abuts the road, are you?
Oh, where the driveway meets the road?
Yes.
No.
Okay.
Now, our driveway has it has a down slope to the road. So, we actually, our property doesn't have any water that drains from the road onto it. But we are not, doing anything to reduce the possibility.
Great.
This is Penny. I have a question. What I didn't see on the site plan were distances from the driveway to the stream to the north of the property. Did you guys measure that when you were out at the site visit? Just for the record.
Well, what I can tell you, do you have the site plan that I provided?
I do, and I didn't see those distances on there.
If you look at the far right, there's a scale, and if you're looking at the site plan, the left edge of the drive, measuring to the brook, the closest point is 20 feet. But as the brook moves off to the left, that distance increases quite quickly. Now, when the water from the drive drains, in the section that's closer to the road, it's draining onto the road and then it runs down the road and runs past the culvert and then is allowed to go through the underbrush, ultimately into the brook.
I just had one question I didn't see on the plan, erosion control. So during construction, is there going to be some kind of erosion control between the work and the stream?
This was something that Stephen and I discussed. The plan is for this work to take place only in one day. So normally erosion control wouldn't be required, but as I said to Stephen, it's normal for the commission to require it as part of a negative determination, just in case something happens and they can't finish the work in a day. So if the commission wants to require that as part of a negative determination, I think that's reasonable.
I would like to say that, you know, the project is involving taking, 3 inches of existing material out. So unless there was in my mind, unless there was, say, a monsoon type rain that were to fill that up, there wouldn't be any water leaving if there was some rain, that space.
You never know.
I hear you.
And I mean, the stream is pretty close too, so.
And I would add that we're looking at a flat surface here, but and it's the same case as with the fire station. The runoff is not a concern about when you're doing the excavating. The runoff is the concern when you're doing the paving. The way you get paving equipment not to stick to cooling asphalt is you coat it with kerosene. You spray down the equipment fairly consistently, taking it off the trailer. You're already spreading diesel fuel in the road. So limiting that runoff doesn't really have anything to do with rain or anything like that. It has to do with the residues that you're leaving 20 foot from a stream upslope. It's just practical to put in an erosion fence on the stream side at the top of the bank there.
Would a filter
We're only
sock be
talking hay
acceptable?
bales and silt fence. It's not terribly complex.
Yeah,
A
usually
filter
we
sock
ask,
would-
yeah, usually that's what we ask for is an erosion sock.
Okay. So that would run along the left side of the drive.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. And would that be, can that be kind of in our, in the plant, sort of at the edge of the planted and mulched area before the, I'll say the natural understory?
Yeah, I mean, it should be
Correct.
at the limit of work, really, so
Right.
right along the edge of where the beginning of your excavation is gonna start.
Well, we could probably weave it, we have some plant material that's very close to the edge, but immediately behind that, this is material we've planted, could run the sock there. I'm gonna say maybe no more than 2 feet from the edge.
It's fine, that would work. I think that's fine.
Okay.
I have a
Right.
question for
Uh-huh.
Robin. It's Miriam. Robin, on your site visit form, you mentioned recommending an NOI, and I just wondered your thought about that.
Oh, we were chatting as a group. This isn't like a single idea, just because of the proximity. But I mean, the point was to discuss it here. I probably shouldn't have even put that as a recommendation. That was just something we were tossing back and forth.
Ward, are you aware that this driveway paver has done projects nearby?
I don't know this specific person, so I'm not sure.
So I was wondering why RDAs or NOIs had not been filed for those driveways. And I mean,
Yeah.
that's irrelevant to this discussion, but.
I just felt, the commission can require a notice of intent. It just, this project, in my opinion, is not going to alter the wetland. If this were a new driveway or new thing, it might be a different case because it is within 50 feet. But it's not going to change the amount of impervious surface. It's not really going to change anything. It's just changing the surface from one thing to another. And I think a -3, I think it is, work within the buffer zone, but will not alter with whatever conditions the commission thinks are appropriate should be fine. I don't know that a notice of intent is going to really get you any more wetland protection than this would.
I'd have to agree with Beth that it's the erosion fence here that is really what you'd be aiming for with a notice of intent anyhow.
I have a question too. This is Janice. Looking at the plan, I don't see where those stone line channels are. And so I don't know which way they're heading off of the gravel drive. Can you explain that?
Well, I want to apologize. I took several photos and I had meant to send them when I first attached the site visit form. And then Penny apparently didn't get the site visit form, so I resent them today at her request. And then I, very close to the beginning of the meeting, sent her and Miriam a couple of photos because I can't screen share in case one of them wanted to screen share, but my memory is there was one going sort of straight back off the house that actually branched out, and one that went down to the left toward the stream. But again, with the rocks in it, it's not like carrying the soil down there or anything. And then there was another one on the other side of the house.
Can I don't know if this will show up. Can you see those? Can you see the two squiggly dark lines?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's roughly how the channels run. So one starts at the left rear corner of the drive, and the other one is further over to the right, two pieces that interconnect, and then they go down and they go down, and if they might be running somewhat parallel to the brook, but they don't discharge towards the brook. Plus, where they discharge, one of them actually, the slope at that point is higher. So the water is actually not even traveling towards the brook when it comes out. The other one is somewhat like that as well. So the excess water and those areas below the stone channels where they discharge, when I've looked at that after a heavy rain, you don't see any indication of disturbance to the understory, the leaves and pine needles and everything else that's there. There's a, from years and years of decay of leaf matter and other debris on the forest floor there, it's a very spongy, soft surface. So I think it really absorbs that water very quickly.
So does the commission feel they have enough information to close the public meeting?
I
do.
I had one
Scott,
one
want to
question.
say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to confirm, when we were on the site visit, from the plans, it looks like, part of the runoff coming from the driveway heads down, through those stone swales, part of it goes directly, off the property there towards the stream, and part of it goes down towards the road. And when we were there, the question I asked is whether or not you're planning to reslope or change the direction of flow. My understanding is you're just taking out 3 inches of materials, you're going to put it back. So the overall, the direction of flow coming off the driveway will change. Part of it's going to go towards the road, part of it's going to go towards the stream, and part of it's going to head down the backside of the property, down the swales, as it does now. But is that accurate?
Correct. There's the intent is to keep all the slopes the same. If anything, we have, I think you may have asked about, there's that manhole that gives access to the wellhead. I noticed that, I guess just over the last couple of years, the surface level is a touch lower there. So my feeling is that when they bring it up level to that, we can actually possibly increase the pitch a little to the back of the drive, which means more water goes into the stone channels. But the intent is to, if anything, improve it slightly, the pitch to the back of the drive, but not to increase it to the side or to the front.
Okay. Beth, do you have any, do you feel like you have enough information? I don't know if we heard from everybody.
This is, I just need just one little detail on the RDA filing. The information on the assessor's map was not included in the form, and it referred the reader to the plan, but I couldn't see that information on the plan. Stephen, can you tell me what the assessor's map page number is?
Hang on. Is that under project location?
Parcel ID?
Yeah.
I
found the parcel
assessor's map / is 2B, and then the parcel lot number is 41.
But it's on a particular page in the book, and I need to know the page.
Are you talking about the deed?
Yeah.
Because that's not on the RDA form. It's the map, assessor's map and parcel number is on the RDA form, not the book and page from the deed. That's on the notice of intent form.
Let me open it up here. Sorry. Sorry, I've got several computers going here at once. It asks for, I think it's on page 2.
Yep. Top.
At the top. It asks for the assessor's map / plat number.
2B.
Isn't that the 2B? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions, or can we, somebody want to make a motion to close the public meeting?
Can I just make one more comment, Janice? I was just to say, I don't have a problem with the project because it seems like he's handling the runoff well, but I don't believe that gravel is an impervious surface. So if maybe not to actually make a finding, don't make a finding saying that it's the same, because it'll be a precedent then you'll have to follow for other projects. I think because he's handling the drainage well, it's not a problem, but I still don't agree with gravel. It's not an impervious surface. It's not considered such. It's not as smooth. It has a rougher surface, so it doesn't roll off as fast, that sort of thing. Anyway, that's all.
I agree with you on that.
Well, can I would suggest that you go and read through this item that I had found, the Massachusetts Unpaved Roads Best Management Practices Manual from.
I know that
Richards.
manual.
You know,
That's
And
for
I know
roads.
that manual as well,
That's
and
for
the
roads.
citing that you gave is actually talking about runoff control on dirt roads. that have swales and systems for controlling that runoff water.
Uh-huh.
You have kind of a wild system, and the stones that you're using and the drainage swales that you're using, they're performing that function that those roadside swales would do.
Uh-huh.
The gravel is absolutely a pervious surface, except what you've been experiencing in January and February, when the ground is frozen and it's solid ice and it's not melting, then it's behaving very similar to pavement. That whole shaded area is freezing. So if you're controlling the water in a way that's consistent with what you've been doing, and you're not increasing the speed across your driveway down to the road, and it sounds like you're doing the right thing.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. I agree about not making a finding that it's impervious. So, but we can figure out what we want to put in the findings once we decide to close the meeting. So I'd like to make a motion that we close the meeting, that we've that the commission finds that it has enough information to make a determination. Do we have a second?
Mary, second.
Mary seconds. Okay, David,
Aye.
Font, I, Harrington,
Aye.
Khan,
Aye.
and Wilson.
Hi.
Okay. All right. So now what we need to do is decide what kind of determination we're going to make. Ward, you were mentioning a determination of a -3, but I'm not sure everybody's familiar with that. I'm wondering, Penny, can you screen share? Do you want to open up the form so people can?
Yes, I just have to put down the laptop on which I'm taking notes and switch to the other one.
That'd be helpful. I'm going from memory, so I don't get the form up there.
Yeah.
I think
Can I just read it to you? Would you mind?
Well, maybe read the choices so people know what they're.
Of the negative determinations or of all of them? I mean,
Let's start with the negative.
The negative. Okay. Okay, negative determination. No further action under the Wetlands Protection Act is required by the applicant. Blah, 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 blah. Then -1 is the area described in the request is not an area subject to protection or the buffer zone. 2, and it's clearly not that. 2, the work described in the request is within an area subject to the protection of the act, but will not remove, fill, dredge, or alter the area. Therefore,
I think that's the one I meant. That's why I said.
no, I think you want 3.
Oh, I do. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Therefore, said work does not require a filing of a notice of intent. And then -3 is the work described in the request is within the buffer zone, but will not alter the area subject to protection under the act. Therefore, said work does not require the filing of a notice of intent, subject to the following conditions, if any.
Right. So number 3 gives us the conditions that we want to.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to propose that we agree to a -3 finding with the conditions that, and we can talk about other conditions, one being that no berms or changes to the slope be added to the driveway, that the erosion control be in place, an erosion sock, and the erosion will serve as a limit of work. Any other ideas?
Oh, those are good.
I would suggest that the work be scheduled for a day on which no rain is predicted.
Excellent idea. That's always a good one. Yes. So that's 4 conditions. Anything else we want to?
Those sound good to me.
Sounds all right. That's okay with you, Stephen and Linda?
Yes, and the filter sock along the left side of the drive.
Can you reference that as north and south?
Well, the road, or our orientation is roughly, let's see, to the road, it's north, hang on, that's
I
north,
think you're talking about on the north side, but
well, northwest, that would be,
let's consider Lake Drive as running north and south.
And it would be the north side,
yes,
northernly side.
yeah. From along the northerly side back to the corner where there's one of the drainage channels. Would that be?
From the road to the drainage channel.
Yes. Along the northerly side.
And that'll serve as the limit of work.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have work will be, let's see, erosion sock will be installed on northerly side of drive from the road back to the corner with the drainage channel. This will serve as limit of work. There will be no change in elevation, and the work will be scheduled when there's no rain predicted. And Miriam, you had one more?
No berm.
Well, no berming.
No, no berming along the road?
Yeah.
Road and the driveway. Okay. Anyone else?
Sounds good to me.
Yep.
All right, somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Yeah.
Make a motion to issue a negative determination 3 with the conditions that we just discussed. Do I need to actually list them
No, I think as
as discussed in the meeting?
yeah, I'll second that. David,
Aye.
DeFont, aye. Harrington,
Aye.
Han,
Aye.
and Wilson.
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
I want to thank the commission for all their efforts. Really appreciate it. And
No problem.
appreciate the decision as well.
Yes. Stay
Thank
safe.
you.
Stay safe.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Okay. All right. We had a couple of issues that
Wait, just a minute. We
ahead.
need, I need you all to
let's
agree
take
that I
pictures.
can sign the DOA for you.
Yes.
Yes? Do you need to
Sure,
vote on that?
Yvonne,
Or can we
yes.
just agree that you voted for this and I can
Yes.
sign your names? Okay,
Go for it.
okay, I'm doing that.
Thank you, Penny.
Okay,
Okay, so we had 2 issues outstanding. One was the dewatering plan. And I know Beth wanted to look at what the site plan looks like. Penny, are you able to screen share it? I could probably pull it up.
could you do that? I'm really struggling with keeping up with the notes here.
Let me see if I can locate it. It may take me a second because I didn't have it open.
And just before, I'm wondering if we should do 2 quick things before we get into this. Just-
Okay.
This might take a while. We received a request today from Mark Rivers asking about removing a hazardous tree that's along Lake Wyola shoreline. And I told him I would bring it up to the commission tonight. I know when I was on the commission, we allowed people to do it. We did a site visit. We allowed people to cut a tree if they didn't remove the roots, but they removed all the debris from the tree out of the buffer zone. So he sent several pictures. It's a large oak. The crown is obviously dying in the photograph. And it's, I guess, he feels like his house is in jeopardy.
So we would need to do a site visit.
Yes, you would need to do I mean, yes, there are some pretty clear pictures. I'm sorry I didn't forward those to you, but I worry sometimes about drowning everyone in information before these meetings. So, and it came in late this afternoon. But yes.
I mean, I saw the pictures. I don't have a problem with, giving him permission, given that the tree looks dead and it looks like another tree came down on his, right next to it, came down on his house this summer, apparently. He showed a picture of another tree that actually hit his house. So it's right on the border. These trees are right on the border between his house and Bob Douglas's property.
I tend to view any hazard tree removal along the shoreline, if it's a dead tree, as maintenance. I mean, what other options do they have?
Right.
Well, I think somewhere in the files, there is a standard letter that we've sent out to other people in these circumstances that essentially says you have permission to cut the tree, the stump must remain in place, and all the debris needs to be removed from the buffer zone. And if you want to remove the stump, then you need to file a request or a notice, depending on the exact location of the tree.
That would be fine as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
We would never tell him to keep the tree, so.
Okay, and then one other quick thing, just as an aside.
Oh, so we're not doing a site visit, we're going ahead and approving it?
Yeah, that would be if everybody agrees. So we need
Yes,
to
we've
vote
been
on-
on several site visits for hazard trees right along the lake, and in all of them, we said, oh, wow, this tree has to go, and just leave the stump.
Right, we've never
been a
told somebody-
problem with it.
Yeah, and my only question with that is we did say we would site visit anybody that wanted to take down trees.
That's true.
Well, you can do that if you prefer. And I really feel like only two of you would need to go. My sense is there's some urgency in it. I don't know if others of you have noticed, but with all the rain and the saturated soil, lots of trees are falling over.
Yep.
Well, why don't we do a site visit for the sake of consistency? I'm willing, I can go, depending on when you want to schedule it. I'm pretty available.
Let's say sometime after next Tuesday.
That would be fine.
Wednesday.
Let's look at what. Is anybody else available?
Yeah, I'm obviously available for any time.
Yeah, you should. That would be great. So
I can
Wednesday,
go anytime too that you need if you need them. So.
Wednesday, the 15th, it's Yom Kippur.
You want to postpone it a day?
Yeah, well, it's still Yom Kippur the next day.
Postpone it a couple days?
Do the 17th.
What do you want to do?
I could do the 17th during the day. If somebody else is available to join me.
So on the 15th, Yom Kippur doesn't actually start till sundown and it goes into the 16th.
That's true.
You could do it as long as you could do it on the 15th before.
We could do it on the 15th in the afternoon if we wanted.
Say 4
Fine with
o'clock,
me.
15th at 4 o'clock. I'll try for that.
That I can't do 4 o'clock. I've got,
You do. Miriam.
I could do like 2 o'clock.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I can be there.
I could do 2 also.
Anna Mary. Okay. I will contact Mark.
And if he has a problem with that, as long as we can see the tree.
Right.
doesn't
As
necessarily-
long as he just gives you permission, that should be fine.
Yes. He
Okay,
doesn't
and then
need it.
just one other thing, I drive through the center of town all the time. I know you issued a DOA for the fire station paving. The first condition on there is to install the erosion control. And I noticed that they have removed the old pavement already and the erosion control has not been installed yet. So I wondered if you wanted to follow up on that or ask me to follow up on that.
Yes, please do. Thank you for calling your attention to it. I would say yes.
My understanding is the paving won't take place till for a while. So it is a bit of a concern that there's that big raw area right next to the wetland. Okay, I will contact Walter.
Have they started work on the other project, Penny, across the street?
Not that I have observed.
Okay.
And I heard through the grapevine that all the paving will be done next spring, which is, I'm not sure if that includes the fire station as well, but I will inquire.
All right, I have the dewatering plan. I do not have screen sharing privileges.
Oh, can I give that to you?
You can.
How do I do that?
I don't know.
There, I think I gave you.
Host disabled participant. Let me see. Nope. Okay, now I got it.
Got it? Okay.
I can find the right document. It's not showing up. Trying to find all sorts of things open and it's not showing me. Okay, here it is. Here it is. Okay, I got it. Okay, can everybody see this?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So let's see if I can find the site plan. So this is the new revised plan. Let me see if I can find a map. Here we go. What? Okay. People see this? Do I need to zoom in a little bit?
Yeah, that's helpful. Thanks.
Can everyone
Yep.
see it? There was probably another page or two of this, but so can you see my cursor?
Yep.
Okay, so
Mhm.
here's where they're
Where's the dam? Is that where the coffer dam is going? Is that the same place as where that dam is now?
so this is where the dewatering will be taking place.
Okay.
Polyethylene sheet, bulk bag cofferdam, two 18-inch pipes. So let me see what those are pointing towards. I guess that's here. There's two pipes, if you can see right here.
Mhm.
Gravity fed, it's not going to be pumped. And go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying to divert the water. So the cofferdam's on top of the dam and then they're going to push the water off through those pipes around and then discharge down where that new area of riprap is. Is that what that weird mark design is on the
I
bottom?
think that it was going to be discharging onto some polyethylene sheets is my recollection. So the reinforced, I guess, down here. Yes.
Uh-huh,
Those
okay.
reinforced polyethylene sheets. And there's probably a profile picture if I move on. Let me know when you want me to change screens. Let's see if I can find a profile. So here is another picture. Pipe is to maintain a 0.0055 feet per feet downward slope. So let me see what else we've got here, if they've changed the profile. So here is the outlet. And we had asked them to have the bottom of the pipes be flush with the discharge surface. And I'm not really sure that this has changed. This doesn't look different to me.
Can you read the numbers there, Miriam? So to the left of that diagram, there's some,
Which numbers? Over here?
well, no, where you're looking at the diagram of the discharge pipe.
Yeah, it's 6-inch
There.
maximum distance between the bottom of the
Okay.
pipe.
And is that what it was last time?
Now you're really
I know.
blowing my mind.
I know,
Let's go
sorry,
back.
it's after, oh, it's not quite 9.
I'd have to go digging in my files. Does anybody else want to
Well,
take a look?
So we can also query Matthew. He's, I think, very willing to work with us on this.
Okay.
So we could just ask him to verify whether that has been addressed to his satisfaction and our satisfaction.
Don, you were the one who raised this as a concern. It's my recollection. If I,
So all he really needs to do, he didn't really add a detail that shows the pipes embedded. It's the same diagram again.
I think
It looks
so.
like, I don't know, looks like it's 6 to 8 inches maybe between where the pipes are and the base of where the tarp would be. I think
Yeah.
the idea is that they be laying flat on the riverbed on top of the plastic.
Yes. That was what we had asked for.
I mean, it's not that hard of a detail for him to add that. He didn't add that by the looks of it.
Right.
So the
Spacing between bypass pipes at the inlet and within downstream shall be sufficient to allow compaction. I'm just looking. Okay, let me see what the next, if there's any more
Can you
diagrams.
tell me what page that's on, Miriam, just so I
This-
can refer to?
This
that?
says page 12 in the document. 12 out of 55. Were there other? Yep, here's another. Yeah, there's nothing else. And so it's spilling, it's discharging onto a plastic sheeting.
And then it flows back to the riprap or whatever has been placed in the channel for now, the stream channel.
Back to the stream channel, whatever the existing stream channel is, I guess, until they've created something.
I mean, it looks like there was a whole bunch of, there was a different symbol for the, yeah, that double hatching or whatever it is that's below there. So I'm assuming it's like darker and lots of circles, yeah, over in that area. So I don't know what that means.
It's this blue. Okay. It's not clear. I mean, I think that if we go back to the original plan, that's supposed to be riprap.
Yeah, like on top of the polyethylene
Yeah.
sheet or something for the short term to.
Well, no, I mean, in the
No?
final plans.
Oh, really?
Would it be helpful if I read what we discussed at the
Yes.
August 12th meeting about
Sure.
concerns with the dewatering plan?
Here, I'll stop the screen share.
Okay.
Well, I can just read this to you from the note. So,
I'm also gonna, while we're talking, I'll try to find the other
Okay.
dewatering plan.
So Wakaluk requested that the pipes be flush with the ground level to facilitate passage of aquatic organisms. Niche feels that the capacity of the system is acceptable, but has some other issues. He felt like all of the other concerns of the commission and conditions listed had been met. He noted that the installation of the dewatering system will have no additional impact to the area, as the trench for the pipes will be within the area of the culvert replacement. So really the only change, meaningful change that we asked for was the pipes being flush with the ground.
Yes. Were they going to get back to us with a more detailed project schedule?
Yes.
Or more readable one.
Yes,
We
my
never got it that.
understanding was from when we all stood in the rain, was that once they had a firm start date in mind, that they would send out weekly schedules that were much more readable than the entire project schedule that they sent out initially.
Mhm.
And I think they're still struggling with enough loose ends that they don't know when they're starting quite yet.
Right.
It's going to be a mess.
Was there a question about lowering the lake? So that, weren't they gonna do before the project? They were gonna.
Well, I think the thinking was that they could lower it a couple of inches without needing to come to us, but that if they needed more than that, they'd have to get an emergency order from us.
Okay.
That was mostly looking at if the lake was higher than what they anticipated for normal at that time.
After this very wet summer we've had.
Yeah, and after the last week too, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't, to me, it doesn't look like it's that much higher.
Uh-huh.
I judge it by how buried the boat ramps get out here. And I can see the boat ramps this time, so
8/19. What was the date for the revised water plan? Oh, I can't find anything in my file for the original one. I have 8/20, which I think
Oh, gosh.
one. It's the more recent one. I guess here's one 8/19. Maybe that was the one.
I think it,
It
yeah.
was 8/12, wasn't it? Something like that.
Yeah, I don't think they changed that diagram.
Would you like me to contact Matthew and ask him to look
Yes.
into that?
Yes, please.
So that's on page 12 in the revised document.
Yeah. So the question then is, how do we handle this? Do we want to approve this with a condition? Do we want,
Maybe you can approve it contingent upon that detail being corrected.
yes,
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. If the rest is okay, then so I make a motion to approve the plan contingent on that one thing being addressed and resolved, I guess.
that the bottom of the outlet be flush with the polyethylene sheeting.
Yes.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Is that Robin?
Yes.
So David,
Aye.
Stefan, I, Harrington,
I.
Han,
Aye.
and Wilson.
Aye.
Okay, great. All right, we're almost done. So the other question we didn't finish our discussion was about what, if any, and maybe we don't have any recommendations to make to the planning board besides investigating that discharge. So the question we were discussing was, do we want to make a recommendation that the applicant or the operator, site operator provide monitoring photographs of the outlet of that stormwater feature after any rain events higher than, let's say, 2 inches in a 24-hour period. What do you think of that?
I think that's, I like that. I think that's
I
fine.
think that hits what we were trying to do, what we were trying to say.
Yeah.
Are you asking for a voluntary measure there, Miriam, or is this something that you think that the Concom would require as or recommend as a requirement to approve?
Well, we don't have anything that to approve. We're not approving anything, I think, at this point. I mean, we could say, you know, in lieu of that, if the operator would agree to an environmental site monitor to do that work, my guess is they're going to end up having to hire somebody to go out and do it because they're not local. So they're going to be doing that anyway, but
Well, I did hear and I don't remember the names of the various representatives from the company, but I know they did talk about a transition in staffing and that they have a local, meaning within Massachusetts, person on staff now who's responsible for the Wheelock site as well as several others. And he stated that he would come out every time it rained. Now,
yes.
that was a comment, not a, set in stone statement, but.
Okay, so I think that sounds reasonable. I think I mean, we don't want to make them do this for every rainstorm, but given that there's decreased storage capacity in that stormwater feature, that asking them to provide some documentation, I think is not unreasonable.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so I'm going to make a motion that the Conservation Commission authorize me to make this recommendation to the planning board that they ask the operator to provide photographic documentation of the outlet of that stormwater, that northern stormwater basin after any rain, within 24 hours of any rain event high more, that's 2 inches or more in a 24-hour period.
I would suggest that you get a picture of the road as well.
And a picture of the road, of the access road. I absolutely.
And they can just send it by email to the Concom email address or whatever.
Concom and the planning board.
Oh, yes, okay.
Yes. Okay, I think that's great.
I'll
Do I have
second that.
a second?
Who was
This is
second?
Mary is.
Seconds, okay. David,
Aye.
Stefan, I, Harrington,
Aye.
Khan,
Aye.
and Wilson.
Aye.
Thank you, that's great. All right. Did we cover everything we had to cover tonight?
There's one other thing that I put on the agenda, and I'm going to put this on every meeting until we get some action on this. And this is considering a change to our bylaw to adjust the abutter notification policy.
Do you
To
think,
simplify it.
do you think that that's an issue that's going to be a problem? You mean in terms of allowing the certified list rather than just certified individual mail or what?
Yes, well, we allow the certified list for notices for anything filed under the Wetland Protection Act, but things under our bylaw, we still require people to do certified letters,
Mm-hmm.
and it's much more expensive.
Yeah.
As someone who has done this twice in the past recent amount of time, one of them was well over $100.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a significant savings to applicants, and it's what is required for RDAs and NOIs that are done through the Wetlands Protection Act. So it makes sense to have our bylaw in compliance with the Wetland Protection Act. So just some, not that we have to decide this tonight, but it would, to change the bylaw, it has to go before an annual meeting. So I'm just,
We'd have to have a public hearing on it. and then-
right. And so I'm just sort of pushing you to start thinking about it so that by the time there is an annual meeting,
Yeah.
you consider making this change.
Penny, you weren't here. We had a meeting, I think it was in January of this year, I think. We had a separate meeting just to talk about the bylaw and the regulations, and Janice was very helpful in deciphering how the bylaw works. One of our concerns had been not throwing out the baby with the bathwater, that if we go to town meeting to revise the bylaw, potentially someone could change, initiate a change in the bylaw on the floor of town meeting that we wouldn't support. Some other change, like making it less, restricting its jurisdiction, for example.
Is it possible?
Didn't we say maybe we could change the rules and regs rather than the bylaws?
Well, that's what we talked about, but this is
Yeah.
wouldn't be covered under rules and regs, I think, is what you're saying, Penny.
But could we? That's,
I understand it.
Penny?
I'm sorry, I wasn't able to hear you.
Mary was asking whether we could change this as a policy or as a rule and regulation as opposed to changing the bylaw.
So, and Janice, you can correct me if I'm mistaken, but I understood that you can change the regulations within the meeting, but you can't change the bylaw without an annual meeting. So I understood from Linda Scott, who is the person who started this whole initiative over a year ago, that this needed to be done through an annual meeting. And I can double check on that. Janice, do you remember?
I think that, yeah, if you're actually going to change the bylaw, you have to do it through an annual town meeting. And it's just that concern about whether that then opens it up to anyone can go onto the floor of town meeting and say, while we're here, I want to reduce the protective buffer to 10 feet, and
I don't think you can do that though at town meeting. I think someone would have to, doesn't that process have to go through a public hearing in advance in the same way that this bylaw change would have to go through?
We would have a public hearing and we would draft a proposed bylaw change, but then anybody can modify it on the floor of town meeting.
So I'm not sure, how much of a modification could they do, without it passing, having gone through a meeting, a public hearing. If it was limited because it had to have been addressed at the public hearing, then that seems reasonable, certainly. And I would think most people would go along with, making that change to eliminate that extra charge. As long as we can maybe find out from town council whether someone could do request a drastic change to the bylaw on the town meeting floor.
I think they can. I think that, that we would be putting a warrant, we have to go through a public hearing to put a warrant article, but actually anybody, for example, can put a warrant article on with 10 signatures. And get an article zoning change on the warrant.
But that wouldn't come up during the meeting. That would only come up if someone was proactive enough to do this. What is it, 10 days, however long before the meeting it needs to be done.
No, people could on the floor of, there's going to be a discussion period before you go for a vote on the floor of town meeting, and somebody could propose a change.
And do you think that would be likely?
I don't know.
I don't know.
After the last town meeting, absolutely.
But, well, none of the bylaws that were changes that were proposed were substantially changed from the floor during the meeting.
No.
I mean, there
We
were,
have a very strong wetland bylaw, and if somebody was disgruntled enough because they have an isolated wetland that's jurisdictional, that they don't want to have be jurisdictional.
well,
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if there's some other way, but it would really mean, it really depends on whether you think anyone would complain. You could, this sounds weird, you could ignore the specific requirements of the bylaw and just allow people to do the certified mail list under the bylaw. And I can't imagine anyone would complain and say, no, you had to make them do the more expensive one. I suppose that's always a possibility, but
I know, I just from watching,
yeah.
I've been watching all the planning board bylaw tweaks that they've done over the past through annual meetings,
Uh-huh,
and nothing like that ever happened.
uh-huh.
You know, it was carefully explained why they were making these minor changes, and they all passed. You know, no one said, well, we should throw out our open space design bylaw, or we should throw out the solar development bylaw.
Mhm.
I'm not convinced that this fear is sufficient to stop, prevent making this change, which I think people will appreciate.
No, I think they would appreciate it. Makes, I mean, it's a reasonable change. I agree with that. Absolutely.
I mean, I'm willing to talk with Jeff Lacy, who's sort of and Michael DeCara, perhaps Miriam, you could talk with him about whether they had concerns like that when they put forth these minor adjustments to their bylaws. Because they've done this for the past handful of years.
I think that I mean, I'm speaking for Michael DeCara, but I think in retrospect now he's amazed that the solar bylaw went through.
Well, but we're not
with so many votes because you know, it became contentious after the fact, but
we're not talking about creating a whole new bylaw. We're talking about a very minor change to a bylaw that's been in existence for over 25 years.
I'll ask him and let's table this and, you know, go ahead and talk to Jeff and, you know, we can continue this, you know, nothing is going to be done anytime soon anyway, because we don't have to do anything right now, but we have a little time, but it's worth thinking about. Okay, any other business or should we adjourn?
Let's adjourn.
Let's adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, Mary, second from
Second.
Beth. David, Devont, I'm answering for you now. Harrington,
Aye.
Khan,
Aye.
and Wilson.
Aye.
All right, thank you, everybody.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
It's only 9:09.
Woo.
Good night, everyone.
All right, good night.
Good night.
Bye-bye.